Breathwork changed my life. Now I'll help you change yours. In 2013, my world was turned upside down when my partner was murdered. I was thrown into grief, a place I never expected to be. The last decade plus has been a journey of healing, learning what works and what doesn't. Also how to rebuild from the darkest of places. I founded Vidya Breathwork, a method designed to make healing simple and accessible, and now I train facilitators to share this transformative practice globally. Welcome to The Dark Side with Verity, the podcast where we get real about transformation, growth, and stepping into your strength. Let's dive in. Welcome to The Dark Side with Verity. I'm V, your podcast host, and this is everything that I wish I had when my grief journey began 13 years ago. Death is something that's not spoken about enough. It's one of those things that we put into a box that we don't think it's going to happen to us until it does, and then we have to deal with it. So this is for you if you are going through grief or a tough time. It's for you if you're supporting anyone through either of those. It is for every single human out there because let's all be self-aware so we can understand ourselves and we can then be supportive for everybody else. Love, love, love. I'm now 40, so this has taken a while for me to get the courage to tell you all of these stories because the past few years of going through grief, it's not been a smooth ride. It's filled with, yes, some amazing times and beautiful experiences, and it's also filled with the opposite end of the scale of all of those. So this is me sharing what worked, what definitely didn't work, in hope and trust that it'll maybe resonate, help you, or give you a laugh. I want to start in 2009. So I met the love of my life. I'd moved back to Darwin after being in the Gold Coast studying interior design. I came back to Darwin, got my job, and it was my year of saying yes. We all know that great things happen when you take action. So this was my time to take action in life. I'd gone out on a night with my sister and everybody. We'd gone back to this guy's house that I was seeing at the time, not Josh. And we'd gone to bed. It was 4 a.m. in the morning and I woke up to this like bang, 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 bang on the door. And these three massive guys walked through the door with the best laughs you've ever heard in your life. Like hilarious giggles. Jumped on the bed. I didn't really know whether to be terrified, but I just went with it because their laughs were so friendly. And they'd asked if we wanted to go wakeboarding in my yes year. So I obviously said yes. We went past my home, got my bikinis, swimwear, and spent the day wakeboarding. As we got back, we continued on back at their place. The guy that I was seeing previously went home, and my sister had called saying, do you want to go for a swim at White Rock, which is a swimming hole in Darwin? Of course, I said yes again. In my little Yaris, my orange Yaris at the time, there's me and these three huge, muscly guys piling into my car. We stopped past Bunnings to buy some camping chairs. They weren't small camping chairs. These were like the Caribbean chairs that were like banana lounges. So all of us packed in my tiny car, roll up to the watering hole and start swimming and chatting with my sister and all of her friends. As my sister meets everyone, she's like looking into their eyes, and Josh and his friend Nico have the best eyes that you've ever seen. And my sister was like, wow, you like the piercing eyes. In that time adventure, we then proceeded to go back to their place. So we're all playing guitar, singing along, having more drinks. And my sister turns around and asks them all like, oh, so how did you meet Verity? They're like, oh, we just met her today. And she looked at me like, what the hell are we doing here? Little did she know either. We then stayed the night at their place. We had our own room, Lucy and I. We had got cooked breakfast the next morning. And then as we left, we thought, oh, we better like give them a present. So we quickly drove to the Bottle-O and dropped back a carton of beer to say thank you. We continued on and ended up seeing these guys every week and for the next 6 weeks. In that time, I'd taken out numerous friends wakeboarding, and I turned to one of my friends and I looked at him when Josh was kneeboarding and I'm like, he is going to be my boyfriend. Never in my life had I said this about anyone. I was always one of those people that would meet someone, we'd have a good time, and then all of a sudden I'd be in a relationship. There was never a person previous to Josh that I was like intentionally like, yes, he's who I want. And so that was a whole new experience and feeling for me. So when people say, when you know, like I know that that's the thing. So I do always believe that love, when you know, you will know. So just need to trust yourself and say yes. Our journey from then just got better and better. We were together 7 years, and in that time we, like any relationship, it wasn't perfect, but we really supported each other. So he believed in me more than I believed in myself. It's why I was able to start my own interior design company, because I was working part-time for another lady doing women's life coaching, so helping in personal development. And I was her assistant and assisting with young teenagers going through tough times. So I guess it's always kind of like been in me, probably because of my own journey of body image, eating disorders, abuse, trauma, like all of these things shape me. Your past does not define you. We know this. It ends up becoming your superpower if you know how to process and transmute it. So it's why I'm so passionate about this, and it's why I will not stop talking about it. It's why I created my company, but I will go into that later. Let's keep telling the story. When he said to me, we need to sit down and have a chat. And so I was working 2 jobs. I, for some reason, was not sending invoices for interior design. So there's all of this stuff when you start a business. It's all the belief in yourself. It's your money story. It's all of these things that start to come up. And because he was supporting me and I had another job, I was kind of like, oh yeah, it'll be fine. Until he sat me down saying, like, we need to have a talk. In my mind, my heart sank. I was like, whoa, he's going to break up with me. Like, it's done. And he's like, you need to quit your other job now. I will fully support you, but you need to go all in on your business, because this flip-flopping thing and not believing in yourself is just wasting time. You've got this. You know what you're doing. I'm like, whoa. So if this person believed in me this much, I just borrowed his belief. Like, it's a thing. I guarantee it works. So find beautiful people and surround yourself with beautiful people that believe in you. Again, this is why I have my community, because I know the power of belief. And so until you have your own, just borrow. It worked the same in reverse. So when he wanted to become a Master 5, so he drove boats, barges. Like, we had no money at this point, and I just applied for another credit card, my name. I said, here, just take my credit card, learn how to sign my name. Like, you sign the card, and we'll just go from there. Like, we'll figure it out. We always do. We always used to joke that he thought I was rich and I thought he was rich. So he definitely was the one who taught me how to budget, because previous to him, I'd been studying and living in the Gold Coast. And I'd say living, I was living it up. I was going to these like fancy gyms, buying all these beautiful clothes. And so when I came back, I had this massive, massive credit card debt. And he put me on this budget of, here is your, like, this would not work now, $40 a week was all I had to spend on clothes, or if I wanted to buy anything for myself, everything else was accounted for and paid for. But it definitely got me out of debt. So all of these lessons that he was such an old soul helped me move through. And same with him. Like, I believed in him. He went and worked at a company for free for months. And so that's how he got his promotion. Like, I don't know if the world works like this anymore, but we just both said to each other, we knew how much the other person loved and wanted to move forward in their career. And we would like, cool, like, we'll just make it work, whatever happens. So when you have your person, anything is achievable. Our journey from there was we bought our own house. And so our first house hunting auction, I was the one who was going to bid, because in my mind, I was going to be the more calm, cool, collected one. It did not turn out that way. Turns out I'm quite competitive when it comes to this stuff. So in the auction, and this house was in the northern suburbs. It was highly priced at the time for what it was, had a massive hole in the lounge room floor, but I just couldn't stop bidding. I just wanted to win. I was like, hand up, hand up, hand up, all the price. And then I remember looking at him and saying, I don't want this. He's like, we'll stop bidding. And I'm so thankful that the other guy put in one more bid and we did not win that house. So from that point, it was made known that Josh was then going to be the person who placed all the bids. So you could imagine the next house. It was then in Palmerston. It was this massive block, this 5-bedroom house that needed so much work. But in my eyes, I could just see the potential, and it was just going to be our home to have our kids and grow up and our dogs. So on the day of the auction, we are driving in. I'm on the phone to my dad, like, Dad, you need to send me a screenshot of your bank details to make sure that we can, I feel like I'm going to get myself into lots of trouble for this, to make sure that we can say we've got enough money. We get in there, we get all our paddles and get ready to auction. The neighbor is like mowing his lawns during the auction. Later, I found out that he actually wanted to buy the house. So it was absolute chaos at that point in time. There was my sister, my mum, me, and Josh all in one line and elbowing each other like down the line for Josh to make another bid. And he was like, shh, shh. We won. And that home required, I'm so grateful that he was such a good human, like such a legend. He was always helping every single other person. So when it came to helping with our own house, we then had lots of support from all of our friends, which it just became like this fun adventure. I remember one of my friends and I gurneying the whole downstairs inside. Like, that's how bad it was. I looked at the bathroom upstairs and said, I'm never going to have a shower in this. I looked like the bath would fall through the floor. One thing about renovating, whatever you think, triple the time, even more, because the bathroom never changed. Josh and I ended up living in the front room of the house for a couple of months, and over time finally cleaned out the house enough that we could take up the rest of the home. It was like his pride and joy. He was very much a person that worked hard and had very good morals and values when it came to wanting to create and provide. Just like a very masculine man's man that was loving and caring. Like, just the best human, as you can tell. Still think he's the best thing around. So with our home, we had our 2 dogs, and he had just got his promotion, and I had just finished a bodybuilding comp. So the prep for that, as anyone that's done that process, it's a lot. Like, I would look back now and say I enjoyed the process. If you ask Josh or my sister, I was just a pain. Like, packing my own food, very neurotic about everything I did. And there's just these beautiful moments where it wasn't like, I actually never really wanted to compete. All I wanted to do was get my body looking banging so that I could have kids soon. And so that was my prep, to want to have kids, to get my body the fittest, the healthiest that it's ever been. And I remember getting out of a friend's spa, and that was the first time, like, through the comp process, that Josh was like, whoa. Like, you could see him just like checking me out, being like, oh yeah. So that's probably like the best part of the comp that I remember, because it's such an emotional journey, I guess, for all of the girls that were involved in the comp prep. But for me, it was just fun. And my friend's husband, he has passed away now also, but I remember him saying, like, you've done all this hard work. Like, why are you not going to get on stage now? I'm like, yeah, great point. So my friend helped me come up with a dance routine. Just a really wild experience to do. And so by the time that was finished, Josh and I were going to go on a big holiday. We were going to fly into Cairns and travel down with no plans, and then meet everyone for my dad's 60th at Hamilton Island. So it was just, life was just the best. Like, I don't know if you've ever felt content, because I can pinpoint like 2 times in my life. One was when I was 21. I was on this a big blow up ring in the middle of the ocean, just looking back onto the beach thinking, I am happy. I was on a girls' trip and I was just floating in the ocean, just absolute bliss. I felt the same again on, Josh and I would have our Friday nights of going to the markets. We would get roti wraps and come home and watch Bed Homes and Gardens. And I was content. And like, that took a lot of time for me to get to, because previous to that, I was a person who loved going out, always around people, and just always had to be doing things. And I finally had got to a point with a person where I was just happy that it was me and him. So that was my other content point in life. And so when we were planning to go on our holiday, like, that was the next big exciting bit. And I always look back and think of the things that he used to say. So I knew I always wanted kids. And when we first met, like we were young, it wasn't really like on his mind. But towards the end, he's like, yep, I wanted to wait till after I turned 30 because I wanted to enjoy my 30th. And he's like, oh no, it'll be way, way better if you're pregnant before. I was trying to sabotage my party. So, and the same with marriage. Like he would sometimes joke earlier on that, no, like I'm not going to live forever. Like we're all going to die. And he's like, I won't grow old. And then he would start planning not even the wedding, planning our honeymoon because he wanted to stay in an underwater hotel in the Maldives. So there's all these bits where maybe we know that we're not going to live to an older age. I'm not sure because he definitely lived life fast. He always did. He didn't finish school. I think he left school when he was like 14, became a baker and just rode motorbikes. It was just like life in the fast lane was his way. His brain was always the next step ahead, creating, dining. I think maybe people just know. He went out the night before we were about to go on to holidays because he'd just got his promotion. He'd been given his own boat to drive and like that was his dream job. So stoked would be an understatement. I just said, no, you go out with all of the guys. I'm going to stay home with my girlfriend Kashina. We'll cook dinner, we'll walk the dogs and I'll just get organized. You go and have fun. He's like, yep, I won't be late. He's like, oh, I thought you might come. I'll have a few drinks with the boys and then maybe we can go out for dinner and have oysters. I knew I loved oysters, so did he. Looking back now, like we can't change anything, can we? I just thought I was being the cool girlfriend, an organized girlfriend, because we were about to go on holiday. And that was the night that he never came home. So he was out with two of his friends and they were in a club and one of his friends had picked up the money box and was mucking around and a guy in the club started saying, obviously I wasn't there. The guy in the club started saying like, you know, put that down and they just had a bit of an altercation in there. Anyway, that got taken outside and they had a fight and then Josh stepped in to stop the fight and it was all broken up. Then you see in the CCTV, he walks away and he's like mentally talking to himself. And I was always huge on not wanting him to fight. Like growing up when he was younger, he would get into fights. I don't know, he's a guy. But this, like I just said to him, like it just was not in my nature. Like I used to work on the door of a nightclub and hated it. So it was like this promise that he would never fight. And you can see him getting mad at himself and like kicking this box. And he makes the decision to go back to fight. The guy who was fighting ended up having a knife, a 8 centimeter knife, 7 or 8 centimeter knife. And it went straight into Josh's heart. So it pierced his heart. He passed away in the ambulance. And these are the moments where, you know, like maybe our time is our time. Because all of those things, like a tiny knife, a fight that he didn't start but chose to go back into, all of these things, like when it's your time, I guess. And so this, I guess, would maybe around 11. I'm hazy with these details. They're details that I don't need to remember really. I was at home and in bed thinking, oh, like it's getting a little bit late. And I started calling his phone because we had to fly out the next day and he had not packed. So I was like calling and I could just keep getting his message bank. And then I heard like rustling in our home and I actually thought it was Josh playing a trick on me. I thought he'd got a police uniform and was coming to like play a trick on me. So like the police had come up the stairs and they're like bang, bang, bang on the door. I remember coming out to open the door and this policeman, I'm pretty sure it was just one guy. And gosh, I feel sorry for this guy or anyone having to deliver the news because I just went into complete shock. He told me that Josh had been into a fight. He was on the way to the hospital and he'd passed away. It's like he had said none of that to me because I just walked straight back into my bedroom. I remember putting on these blue and black, like parachute Lorna Jane pants. I remember putting like pearl earrings in and walking back out. And I just said, oh, I've got to go to the hospital and go have a talk to Josh. Like, I need to know what's happening. And he's like, you're not understanding. I can't let you leave. Josh isn't alive. And I was punching and screaming, trying to like break out of my own home. So this police officer was holding me back, and I just was not having a bar of anything that he was saying. I don't really remember much after that. He just said, I can't leave until someone comes here with you. And I remember calling my mum and my friend Kashina, who had just left. So we'd had dinner together. And so she came back to be with me, and my mum came. I think I remember calling all of my friends, but I guess nobody's going to be answering their phone at ridiculous times. They're probably thinking like, God, what does she want? She wants to drink or she wants to party. She's finished her bodybuilding comp, whatever. But I just remember sitting on the steps of my home, wishing that I had something to drink in the house because there was nothing. I was on this massive health kick for months. And just sitting with my mum and Kashina, I don't know what we said. I don't know what we talked about. My sister was in Brisbane at the time at a concert, I think. And so she had to make her way back to Darwin. And like Josh was such a part of our family. He would call my mum all the time, would call my dad all the time, would call my sister all the time. So we were all very, very close. So I just hated the fact that my sister had to fly alone by herself back to Darwin. And from that point, this is where I wish I knew more about my nervous system, because maybe if I'd understood a little bit of what was happening in my body, I would have been able to navigate a little bit differently. But I just remember feeling frozen, and everybody felt like they were a meter away from me. People would have conversations with me, and I could have like a whole conversation in my mind, and just remember thinking like, oh, this person wants me to reply. Like I need to respond. Because if you know, or if you've had to organize a funeral, like it's a lot of shit things that you've got to decide, you've got to plan for, and you don't want to do any of it. You just want your person back. And so I was just in a pure state of freeze for so long. And my people always ask me like, oh, how did you get through grief? How did you survive? Quite honestly, the first 6 months, it was like this numbing of, because I was on a health kick, I was like really into green juice. I was drinking green juice every day. I was also drinking vodka. So I kept myself in this like numb state. Sometimes I drink too much, and it was just this, I'm so grateful for all of my friends and family, because it's tough. You are a shell of who you were before. Your world does not make sense. And even I've told this story so much in all of my trainings and all of the events and retreats that I run. For some reason, talking about it on this podcast is way different. It's why it's taken me so many goes to get this out. And it's still going to be rough, and I'm totally fine with that, because this is what healing is. When you're having to make all these decisions, like imagine if I knew how to respond. And so all I knew at the time to do was, if someone needed a response to me, I'd like close my eyes, take a big inhale, exhale, and then I could respond to them. Like so much that I got it tattooed on my arm saying to breathe. I just knew that if I could just keep breathing step by step, minute by minute, I would be able to get through this at some point. Everything that happens after that, like it was, my sister organized so much. One of my other beautiful friends, Dim, everybody just took control of my life. Everything was organized for me. I would just have to be like, this one or this one, this one or this one. And so all of these bits and pieces to navigate a funeral. And I didn't want a funeral. I think the way that we in the Western world look at death is so depressing. Of course, death is sad, but I wanted it to be a celebration of his life, because he was an absolute legend and was loved by so many people. So there was all colors. I think I wore white floral dress. And if anyone knew me previously, me speaking in public, speaking about my life, speaking loud, not happening. At the funeral, I managed to get some words out. I'm like, well, if like he believed in me, I can do this. I can get through this. And I was, somehow managed. So my journey from that point became about healing. I Like I said, the first 6 months was a little bit of a numb blur. And then alcohol helped to a point, and then it did not help me at all. I remember laying in bed recording myself because I couldn't get out of bed. I had a business coach at the time who turned into like my lifeline, and I would see her ringing going like, oh God, I've got to like answer, and I'd still be in bed. And I just didn't want to keep going. It was hard. And I would answer the phone. She's like, it's okay, you don't have to do anything right now. And she gave me this daily planner. And all I had to do was write down 7 things that I had to achieve that day. Like before, I could have achieved like 50 things in a day. When your body is in survival mode, you're lucky to get a few done. And so my 7 things would generally be make my bed, have a green juice, meditate, write in my journal. And then there would always be one task. Like I'd have to go to the bank and sort out his bank accounts. I would have to cancel his phone or sort out his car. Like it is endless. And the shit thing is you always have to go to these really depressing places to try and sort it all out. And so I would just have one task per day that I had to get done. And then the other form was like hour by hour to get through your day. And so that was sort of my survival technique until I went traveling. And that was another part that just like opened my eyes, because when you're traveling, you're just focusing on what you're going to eat that day, the place you're going to visit. And it also became really healing to me because I had to learn how to tell people that my partner was murdered or my partner died. And so long, I couldn't even say those words. I was like, oh, my partner's not here anymore. Like nobody knows what that means. Like, oh, did he break up with you? Did he leave? I had to get brave and say those words and also practice saying those words, because in Darwin, I would train at the gym all the time because I would get that like I don't even know if it was 5 minutes, but endorphins after I'd done a gym session. And so everybody who knew me at the gym before, to no fault of their own, nobody knows how to deal with death. And this is why this podcast is so important to me, because it was like I had leprosy. Nobody knew what to say. They're like, oh, should I say hello? Should I ask how she is? Or I'll just pretend like I didn't see her. So I was like, wow, I can walk through anywhere and people would just move out of my way. I'm like, okay. When in reality, all anyone needs to do is come and just give you a hug. There's nothing anyone can say. Just don't be weird. Don't treat people any different. Just give them a huge hug. So learning to be around people, learning to travel, the healing process is long and huge, but it set me on this big trajectory of getting to understand myself and create the business that I have now. So I went from being an interior designer, making all the outsides of homes beautiful, picking your paint colors, your couches, your tiles, to now realizing what really matters is the inside. And I knew the point when I had to stop interior design is when I was working for a lady and her couch was 3 weeks late. And I remember her being so angry and so upset. And I just stood there in my mind thinking, get a real problem. And I knew that I needed to quickly leave and go on a holiday, stop interior design for a while before I burnt my name and my business to the ground. And that sent me on a huge journey of life coaching, yoga coaching, completing my 300-hour, 200-hour yoga training, creating retreats. I've done NLP, hypnosis, somatic therapy, all of the things you can imagine, every certification to try and figure out what works, what doesn't, to my final piece of my puzzle, which was breathwork. So I now have a company called Vidya Breathwork, and I train facilitators in my method to healing. So it's holding space for people going through tough stuff. It's not only grief, just that I know what grief feels like. It's all the other things that your body needs to process, because there's so much we can talk about, but we need to somatically shift from our body. So you need to have a huge toolkit of tools to navigate life. And they're not hard, but we need to have a really deep understanding of ourselves and how to navigate life in a way, because our breath is something that we have with us at every point in time. Because believe you me, everything works and other people can only do so much. Because I searched and searched and searched and searched and searched and searched and searched because I wanted somebody else to heal me. I wanted somebody else to make me feel better. And it does not work like that. It comes full circle. It is what you do every single day that is going to help you heal and be able to move forward. Because life is never going to be cruisy and easy. It is an absolute roller coaster, and things are always going to continue to happen. This is why we want to build resilient humans that can cope with the tough stuff that comes your way. So today, I want you all just to take a deep breath, because there's times where you're going to hear horrid news. You are going to be faced with something that you don't want to do. All you need to do, close your eyes, place your hand on your lower belly, take a big inhale through your nose, and then a long slow exhale through pursed lips like you're blowing out a candle, and that will help you get through. I mean, if you want to take it a step further, which I highly recommend, do 7 of these breaths. This is going to drop you into your parasympathetic, where the body is safe. I will talk way more about your nervous system, because it's a thing that I wish we were taught in schools. It's a thing that I wish I knew. But this is how we become resilient humans. I'm so excited that I get to share all of this with you. There'll be way more of my story. You'll get to know all the bits and pieces as time goes on. Plus, I'll be bringing on really amazing guests that have gone through stuff. Because life on Instagram or social media can look a certain way, but we all know reality is not like that. So let's talk about all of the stuff, because that way, the more we talk about it, the more you're going to inspire other people to do the same. Nobody is perfect. We don't want to be perfect. We just want to be ourselves. Much love. Take care. Be. That's a wrap for this episode of The Dark Side with Verity. I trust it's given you clarity, sparked awareness, and allowed you to breathe a little deeper, plus a little takeaway to integrate into your life. If this has resonated, I'd love you to leave a 5-star review, of course. More importantly, I would love you to share this with someone who's on their journey and needs a little bit of assistance. Come hang out with me over at Instagram at VerityJoCoonan or The Dark Side with Verity, or start to explore Vidya breathwork at verityjocoonan.co. Until next time, breathe deep, trust the process, and keep expanding. Much love.